How's everyone doing today? Welcome back to On the Ball, and welcome back to some England content, as today me and Sim are going to be picking our starting 11s for the Euros to see how Gareth Southgate can manoeuvre the Euros to get us to a winning position finally. And I swear, if Gareth Southgate does not win this tournament, surely it's got to be one of the biggest letdowns. I think, in my opinion, England have the best team in this tournament.
I think best starting 11. I think I agree. I think the chock-a-block of talent, you look at some of the players being left out the squads these days and you can't quite believe how good these players are. But I'm still looking at France and their depth is still very scary. So I'm not saying that England have a deeper pool of talent than France, but I think if you look at the first 11s, I think they're every bit as a match for them.
And I think that when you're looking at the kind of talent England have available, especially from like the midfield or upwards, the midfield and the front line, I do think that it is better than France. But you're looking at the defensive line, I do think France probably have a better defensive line than England. But anyway, let's get into the starting 11. We've both picked our own 11s and we're going to compare them, match them, debate them and see where we go. So we'll start off with the defence. This is defence that I've picked. So I've gone for Pickford in goal, Walker right back, Shaw left back, Stones and Branthwaite as left centre-back. I think it's time to say goodbye to Harry Maguire. He's barely playing for Manchester United. I think he's been he's never really let England down, which is the truth. But I look at Branthwaite, I look at the skills that he does have. I think they can complement Stones so well as a back two. And I've been so impressed with Branthwaite. I really have. And I think if he impresses in these friendlies coming up, I think it's the first time he's been called up, Branthwaite, in these friendlies coming up. And he impresses like he has done all season for the remainder of the season. I really think that he should be in ahead of a Harry Maguire. But that is my back line. Let's have a look at yours.
Yeah, my back line is not too dissimilar, but I am going with Harry Maguire. I don't think I'm ready to let him go just yet. Big old slabhead. I think he's an important player for England, not just because of his experience. He's played at many major tournaments. I think his ability from set pieces is crucial. And I think he's been there at the major tournaments and always done a good job for England at major tournaments. I know it's not really working out for him at Man United at the moment, albeit I think when he has played, I don't think he's been bad this season anyway.
Have been a couple of good dodgy games in there from him.
I think by and large he's been all right, actually. I've been quietly impressed when he's been selected.
Do you not think it's time for England to move on from Harry Maguire?
Not just yet. I don't think. I look at Branthwaite, big fan of his. Is he ready for a big tournament just yet? I'm not 100% sure. Obviously, it's his first breakout season for Everton this season. He's doing really well. Don't get me wrong. Is he ready to start a big tournament next to John Stones? I'm not convinced just yet. Other than that, he looked below that. Tomori, for one reason or another, Southgate's never fancied him for England. Mark Guehi, another player I like. If you put Harry Maguire in Crystal Palace, would he also look just as good as Guehi? Probably, in my opinion. I think Maguire's really underrated. I think because he's had that pressure at Man United and he's had all that pressure on his shoulders as captain and through a very turbulent time at United as well. He's become a bit of figure of fun, unjustifiably so, in my opinion. I actually think he's an underrated defender.
But some of the things he has done on the pitch has warranted that.
Yeah, but there's more eyes on him. If Guehi makes a mistake, no one notices. You know, if Maguire makes a mistake, it becomes a social media meme. It's a different kind of aspect. I look at him for England. I think he's been brilliant in the tournaments, and I would just keep him in the team just for one more tournament, in my opinion. And I think it's our best shot. I think he's always done well.
Look, I agree. He has always done well. I do think that a lot of the criticism he comes under is warranted. And I just look at Branthwaite and I think he's ready from what I see from him, from the performances he puts in, week out. Not only that, but he's also a threat from set pieces. I think he scored from a number of set pieces. How many goals he got? 2 or 3 this season. I remember him scoring 1 against Spurs. I like everything about him, literally everything about him. And I get it, he's young, but sometimes these players are ready. And sometimes you just got to chuck him in the deep end and and I think he'll swim rather than sink. I really believe that. He looks like he's got a good head on his shoulders. And like I said, like with him and Stones, I feel like they can complement each other really well with the different attributes that they do have. Do you not agree?
I like Branthwaite, as I say. I think he's a good defender. I've been really impressed with him for Everton this season. I just don't. I'm just not convinced that he's ready. Look, Everton have, they've been all right this season considering the points deduction where they are. But I think since the turn of the year, they've really been struggling for results. Does he know what it's like to be part of a winning team? Has he got that winning mentality? I think all these things have obviously it's difficult when you're at a lower.
When has Maguire
team.
been part of a winning team?
Yeah, he's got to the final of the Euros. He got to the semi-final of the World Cup. He knows what it's like to be in these big tournaments.
He knows what it's like to fail at these big tournaments.
He knows what. I mean, you call it failing, but he got to these latter stages. Only 2 teams can get to a final. Only 4 teams can get to a semi-final, and he's been part of those teams. And I think he's played really well in those tournaments. Branthwaite, I like him. He's only really been playing week in, week out for one season. Maybe if he impresses in these friendlies, that'll go a long way to convince me he's ready to step up in a tournament. I'm just at this current moment not 100% convinced he's going to be the answer of just putting him in.
Is it experience you're going on, or is quality got to do with it? Do you think like right here, right now, that Maguire is still a better player than Branthwaite?
Yeah, I do. I think you put Maguire in Everton, he would be brilliant. Is he going to be? Would he stand out? Would Maguire stand out more than Branthwaite at Everton? Would Branthwaite stand out more than Maguire if they were playing together at Everton? I don't know if he would, to be honest. Now,
I think Maguire's probably more suited to the way that Everton play. But I think if Branthwaite, you put him in Manchester United, I think he'll stand out more in a good light than Maguire has.
I don't know. I think there's some very good centre backs at Man United who have, been struggling because of how turbulent Man United been, not just Maguire. So I don't know. I like Branthwaite. I'm just not convinced he's ready to start in a big tournament for England. I would stick with Maguire for now.
All right, well, that is our defensive situation. Let us know in the comment section below. Would you prefer a Branthwaite or Maguire at left centre-back? Do you agree that Walker, Stones and Shaw should be locked in for the defensive kind of positions? And do you think Pickford has done enough still to keep retain his spot as England goalkeeper? And you look at the England goalkeepers, that's also an area where it's not that strong. You're looking at the 3 goalkeepers that have been called up, Pickford, Johnston and Ramsdale. I mean, Ramsdale has hardly been in goal at all for Arsenal this season, and he's still getting picked up. Sam Johnston been okay this season, and Pickford.
You're never going to pick Johnston for your number one.
No, exactly. And Pickford. I mean, Pickford's had a fairly good season, but still, like, you would still want someone better than Pickford, wouldn't you?
I think ideally, but I think I've actually been really impressed with Pickford this year. I think he's had a really good season, and I think as well another player who's never really let England down. I can't remember, you think years gone by of like the Rob Green moments and David James making big mistakes, Paul Robinson making big mistakes for England, Joe Hart against Iceland making a big mistake. Yeah, Pickford's never really had that moment, so you've got to give him credit for that. And I think he's been a steady pair of hands for England, so I don't see any reason to be unhappy with him.
Yeah, especially with the other options that you do have. So let's go on to the midfield. I'll go to my midfield first. I've gone for Rice in the number 6 and Trent alongside Bellingham. I think Rice and Bellingham just speak for themselves, don't they? Rice has been one of the best midfielders in the league this season. I think he's been incredible. I think he's even come on leaps and bounds since that move from West Ham. Being in a team that is fighting at the top, you're really seeing his values week in, week out. Jude Bellingham, I mean, he's going to be on the shortlist for Ballon d'Or this year with performances he's having for Real Madrid. And I've gone for Trent Alexander-Arnold in midfield. I kind of look at the back line that I've chosen. I think that should be really defensively solid with Walker and Shaw, who are really good defensively, Branthwaite and Stones. And I just want to see Bellingham and Trent just work their magic in the middle of the midfield. And we all know the qualities that Trent has. Not only that, but the qualities he has from set pieces as well, which I think will be invaluable to us. So I've gone for Trent in midfield, actually. Let's look at yours.
Yeah, again, not too dissimilar, but one key change. I've gone for Maddison over Trent in midfield, obviously alongside Bellingham with Declan Rice in the 6. Obviously, Rice has been playing in the 6 for Arsenal the whole season, albeit occasionally drops into the 8 when Jorginho comes in. But I think he's shown how adept he can be in that lone 6 role, how much ground he can cover. So for me, that would allow you to play quite an offensive middle 2, and especially with 2 players, in my opinion, in Maddison and Bellingham, who are so creative, so good going forward, but also quite combative. They also do their defensive duties, albeit Bellingham, to be fair, for a lot of the season has been playing that false 9 position for Real Madrid. So it would be a bit of a change for him to drop that much deeper in a more of a, like, say, number 8 position, going from a false 9. But I think he's definitely got the quality to do it. It's something he used to do a lot for Dortmund when he used to play there. Obviously, Real Madrid don't really have another striker, so he's been benefiting from that freedom, and he's been playing wonderfully. And obviously with England having a number 9, he's not going to be playing that role for sure. That leaves either, do you drop into a number 10 and then play a double pivot, or do you maybe play him in the 8 alongside another offensive midfielder? And that's the route I've gone. I was just looking at our talent. We've just got so much talent. I'd rather bank on us to out football the opposition rather than throw in, I don't know, a Calvin Phillips or I don't know who else would be along like a more combative midfielder. I think we can out football teams with our talent, and I think Maddison will be perfect for that. And I think Maddison's also shown a ability to not shirk his defensive responsibilities, and I think Bellingham and Maddison rotating with Rice in the 6 would be very, very difficult to stop.
Yeah, I love Maddison, obviously. Being a Spurs fan, I've been so happy with what he's produced this season. First 10 games, he was probably one, if not the best footballer in the Premier League. But I've never been convinced with him in an England shirt, to tell you the truth. I really haven't. And I think that if you bring up my midfield again, without the front line, the way I envisaged it actually was more Rice and Trent in a double pivot and Bellingham in the number 10 further forward. And I think that would probably work a bit better than what it's laid out here. And I just feel like with Rice, Trent and Bellingham, you've got all the different facets you need from a midfield. They can all do every type of job that you want them to do. And I think Maddison can do that as well. I'm not saying he can't, but I've just never been totally convinced with him in an England shirt. I
don't think we've seen Trent yet in that a double pivot, to be honest, like really perform at a high level, or I should say perform consistently, because he hasn't really played there much. A lot of the time he plays an inverted fullback role. He's played there for England, obviously, in the midfield, but on a handful of occasions at most, I would say. I don't think he's played so many games there. I'm one of Trent's biggest advocates. I love Trent Alexander-Arnold. I think he's brilliant. I think he's one of the best players in Europe. I do like him more as a fullback than a midfielder, to be honest. I'm still not convinced he is a midfielder, albeit he's made some really good cameo appearances in that position. But I think he really benefits when he plays in that inverted fullback role, because he gets that extra bit of space than he would if he was just a customary midfielder. Then all of a sudden he has a different set of problems to be up against than being an inverted fullback. So I don't know if I'd trust him in midfield in a major tournament against some real serious opposition. I think it's asking a lot of him to, in a position where we just haven't seen him perform consistently yet. So I don't know if I would put that trust in him. That's why I'd put Maddison there, because we've seen him for years playing in a similar position and do extremely well in there. Yeah, you're right. For England, hasn't really done it for one reason or another. Southgate likes to play him on the left wing when he plays for England, which I don't know why. I would like to see him in midfield, but yeah, that's the reason I'll pick Maddison over Trent in that position.
Another option could be Rice and Bellingham, or Rice in the 6 and Bellingham alongside Cole Palmer in the middle. That could be an interesting option.
Palmer's obviously having an amazing season. I love Cole Palmer. I think he's brilliant. Obviously, can play in that number 10, but I think more often than not, he plays off the right for Chelsea. Mm-hmm. Really great player. And in terms of form, you probably would go Palmer over Maddison, but I just think Maddison right now is a better player, so I would go for Maddison. But Palmer, he's got a great shout as well. He's playing really well, really well. I love Palmer.
Well, in terms of the midfield, let us know who you would pick. Would you go Rice, Bellingham, Trent? Would you go Rice, Bellingham, Maddison for that middle 3? And then the front line, we've both picked, I think we've both picked the exact same front line here in Foden, Saka, Kane. And I don't think you can look any other way than these 3 players. Saka, with the form that he's on, obviously an unbelievable player. Foden, I think he's taken up 2 notches this season with the way he's performed, the more authority he's been given in that Man City side. And Harry Kane is obviously Harry Kane, England's top ever goal scorer. Be great to start supporting him again on the football pitch. So I don't think you can look past these 3 players at all.
Definitely not. They're the form players for England. Obviously, England are chock-a-block with talent. You got Watkins having the season of his life. You know, Rashford obviously not having a great season, but he's always a dangerous player. Cole Palmer, as we said, doing so well for Chelsea. But when it comes to a front 3, with the front three having all the kind of facets you want. You got the dribbling ability of Saka, you got the creativity and ingenuity of Foden, and you've just got the ruthless goal scoring of Harry Kane. You just can't leave out any of those players. Oh, maybe there's a case for Foden centrally and put a left winger, a different winger there, but I think Foden's so versatile and he can play in so many he can play such an effective role in any position that I want him in the forward line closer to goal, I think, and linking with the likes of Kane and Bellingham and Saka. That's where I want him. I wouldn't want him with that central responsibility to be too defensive. So I think he's obviously Guardiola's done such a great job developing him. He's become one of the best players in Europe now, and I think he's absolutely brilliant, having one of his best seasons. Saka, obviously for Arsenal, he's been such a consistent performer. I think as well when he's played for England, especially recently, playing really well for England as well, really stepping up in big games. And obviously Harry Kane, need I say more? So it's difficult to make a case for anyone else to get into that front three.
Yeah, and you obviously feel for Watkins with the season he's had. Was it 26, 27 goal contributions or something for Aston Villa this year? With the form that he's on, it's so hard to just kind of put him by the wayside, isn't it? But great options to have off the bench. I'm just trying to think outside the box a little bit here. Would you consider dropping one of your midfielders, let's say a Maddison and a Trent for me, having Bellingham and Rice, and then maybe have Kane as the second striker and have Watkins just ahead of him? I wouldn't.
I would maybe I'll do it in a front two. I wouldn't have Kane as a 10, even though he's drops deeper nowadays. I still haven't seen him really play as a proper number 10. And that if you give him that number 10 responsibility, that means he's a midfielder, and that means he's got midfield responsibilities. And I wouldn't want to give that to Kane. I would rather give him the freedom of being a kind of more of a false 9 than a number 10. So unless I'm playing Kane and Watkins together in a front two, I don't know if I'd put him in a number 10 position.
Well, maybe as a front two with Kane the one to drop a bit deeper and knit the play together a little bit
like
more.
Like a Sheringham and Shearer kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe like that.
That's what I'm thinking. I'm not thinking of him as an out-and-out 10. I'm thinking more as like a second striker kind of role.
Maybe, but then you got a different problem with, getting outnumbered in midfield, that kind of thing. Bellingham as well. Is he defensively good enough to play in a 2?
I think he is, especially alongside Rice.
But he's been given all this freedom this season at Madrid. Put him in a 3, it's different. He's got support. You put him in a 2, and once he goes forward, Rice is there all by himself with no support.
I think Bellingham is elite in every position. Deeper, further forward, as the false 9, number 10, number 8, whatever you want.
But do you want Bellingham? Because Bellingham would have to be disciplined.
Yeah.
If you want him being disciplined.
I still think like he can play in that role in the 2 with Declan Rice, because Declan Rice is so good. It gives him a bit more leeway, in my opinion.
I think that's too open. I think even what I'm suggesting now is open. I think you take out a Madison and you put in like a Watkins. I think we're going to get completely overrun. I think
depends who you're playing. I guess that like against like the lesser sides we can do that.
Yeah, I'm sure we can do anything we want against the lesser sides. We're that good, I think, team-wise. But I'm maybe in some games, Kane and Watkins, depending on who we get in the groups and some stuff. But once we get into the knockouts, I don't think it's a situation that would work. All
right, well, let's run through our 2 lineups. We'll go for my one first. You got Pickford in goal, Walker right back, Shaw left back, Branthwaite and Stones in the centre back positions with Rice, Trent and Bellingham in the midfield with Foden and Saka supporting Harry Kane. That team is the team to take us to glory this summer in Germany. And how sweet would it be to win a tournament on German soil this summer? But let's have a look at your team.
Pickford in goal, Walker, Stones, Maguire, Shaw. Rice in the 6, supported by Maddison and Bellingham, with obviously Foden, Saka and Kane up top. So let me know in the comment section below whose team you like more and what your team would be for the upcoming Euros.
You know what? I would be completely comfortable with your team, bar Maguire. Put Branthwaite in your team, I would have easily like Trent and Maguire and Maddison for me was both touch and go. Like I could have had either of them in the team, but I just sided with Trent. But I could have gone for either of them easily. But Maguire for me, Maguire's got to go. He's got to go, as well as Southgate, to be honest. But that's another story for another day. But that is our England teams. Let us know in the comment section below what your England team is to take England to glory in this Euro 2024. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. We'll see you next